Hello, welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Stevie and this is Stevie Reads. Today, we're just getting right into it. We are doing another episode of Read It or Unhaul It. This will be the second episode and the premise is very simple. I have all of my unread books in here and I need to pull out a book and I either have to read it in its entirety or try it, DNF it, and I have to unhaul it if I don't finish it. So that is the game. Very, very nervous. Just delaying the inevitable by shaking it. I'm actually pretty terrified, but we are doing this. Okay. And there's a lot of pieces of paper in here and I don't want them spilling out everywhere. So I'm just going to kind of dig down deep, but kind of hold the rest of them in there. I have one in between my fingers. Oh, I lost it. Okay. Yep. Red. Okay, all of the colors do mean different genres, and red is mystery thriller / horror. So that could be kind of fun because we are in the beginning of September. I know it is technically summer, but I am trying to feel the fall vibe. So yeah, a little red one. Okay, thriller or horror? What are we? I'm actually so scared. What is it? Oh, The Perfect Nanny. Oh, this is a tiny one. Okay. Okay, let me grab it. So this is a tiny little penguin classic edition of a thriller. I actually have no idea what this book is about, so 1 second. Somebody at the bottom quoted it that it's the French Gone Girl, which Gone Girl is in like one of my top 5 favorite books of all time. So that's probably why I picked this book up in the first place. But we're following a couple who the wife is Miriam. She's a French Moroccan lawyer. This is set in Paris and they hire a nanny after Miriam has given birth to stay in their beautiful Paris apartment while they go to work, and it's a thriller, so I'm imagining that a sinister turn is going to be happening. But I can't remember when I bought this book. It had to have at least been over 2 years ago. It's definitely sat on my shelf for a while, and when I'm looking at my thriller shelf, it's one that my eyes kind of glaze over, and I've never had the urge to pick it up since I bought it. Actually kind of been like over a month since I've read a thriller, so excited. It says, as the couple and the nanny become more dependent on one another, jealousy, resentment, and suspicions mount. I'm actually curious what the first line is. I love the first line of thrillers, so we'll just read it together. Oh my god. Maybe never mind. Okay, trigger warning for death of a child. The very first line is, the baby is dead. What? Is that even chapter 1? Or was that a prologue? Like, what? There's no numbers on the chapters. That was chapter 1. The baby is dead. It took only a few seconds. The doctor said he didn't suffer. The broken body, surrounded by toys, was put inside a gray bag, which they zipped shut. The little girl was still alive when the ambulance arrived. She'd fought like a wild animal. What is happening? This is not what I read on the back of the flap. Okay, I am intrigued. The first line drew me in. That was like surprising, but oh my god. Okay, so I will check back in with you. I don't know if it's gonna be today or tomorrow or whenever, but probably when I'm like at the halfway mark, I will pop back in and tell you what I'm thinking. Hello, it has been some days, but I am finally halfway through The Perfect Nanny and I'm having a really good time. It is such a quick read, very short chapters. Every single chapter is like 3 or 4 pages, so it's really nice to just keep going. And we're not following one person's perspective. It's a whole cast of characters, but there's like an omnipotent narrator who is above everybody and you jump into people's perspectives throughout the chapter, but it's really cool. So we're in the main couple's perspective, Miriam and Paul. They have 2 little kids, a girl and a boy, and after the boy is born, the mom kind of loses her sense of identity and she went to college, and right before she graduated she got pregnant with the girl, so she's just been a mom for the past couple of years, but she wants to use her degree and go work at a law office and be a lawyer. And then the dad, I think, is like an artist or something like that, but we're mostly in the mom's perspective for the first little bit. You see how motherhood has affected her. She's a woman of color trying to find a job in a predominantly white field, and then they find The Perfect Nanny in Louise. And Louise, we're getting a little bit of perspective from her as well, which I really like to see. Her husband recently passed away. I don't know if it was because of her. I'm kind of suspicious. And her daughter moved away really young, and she doesn't know if she's dead or alive. Like, she has no contact with her daughter. And when her husband died, he left her with a bunch of debt. So she had to sell the place that they were living and then just go live in an apartment by herself. So even if her daughter wanted to come back home, she doesn't live there anymore. She has like no home to go back to. So yeah, this is all set in Paris as well, which is kind of creepy because the author is also a woman of color who lives in Paris with her French husband and their 2 children. So I'm kind of like, that's a little suspicious. Did y'all hire a nanny? Because this is crazy. But honestly, like, the first chapter, the 2 kids are dead. And then the first 80 pages, it feels just like a contemporary novel of a family finding a nanny. You do see a couple of instances where the nanny is maybe overreacting in a sense. Like, there's a time on the beach where she snaps at the girl. Also, you see her playing hide and seek with the kids during the day, and she won't come out of the hiding spot. She just wants to like look and watch them like try to find her and panic and slowly like lose their mind and start screaming like, come out, help, help, help. And she's just like from her hiding spot like watching them panic, and like very, very, very creepy vibes. We also jumped into the perspective of somebody named Rose, who is apparently one of the neighbors in the apartment building that the family is living in. And it's in a courtroom, and the judge is asking Rose, like, is there anything suspicious that you saw when you were in the elevator that day with the nanny and the kids? So obviously you know that the kids are dead. And that it was most likely the nanny because she has some problems, but then that's kind of that would make too much sense, you know? So then I'm also kind of speculative of the parents. The mom obviously wasn't very happy being a mom, but there's a lot of cool conversations on race. The mom didn't want to hire another woman of color because she didn't want them to be able to relate to her like that and be able to be like, oh, my kids are sick, I can't come in today, like, you know how it is, kind of thing. Like, she didn't want that familiarity between them. She wanted a white nanny. There's also a lot of talks on classism because obviously the couple is very well off. They both have good jobs, they live in an apartment in Paris and are able to pay this nanny a very reasonable salary. And then you've got this nanny who's living in a basically slum apartment because she had to sell her house to pay for her husband's debts. But they are entrusting this woman, this kind of stranger that they don't even know, with everything that's important to them in their life, especially their kids. Obviously, they're giving her full trust and responsibility of their kids. And it just talks about how a nanny, you might not look at it as a very respectable position, but you're bringing a third person into your household and kind of into your marriage. Like, she's there for all of the little arguments, and she sees the best and the worst of the kids and the household in general. And yeah, it is a very, very quick read. Last night I read like 70 pages in one sitting, so I do think I'm going to be able to get through the rest of this really quickly. It's Friday morning, so I gotta head into work. When I'm done with this, we will pick another book. Hello! We're doing another update. Kind of got to be quick because I'm going to a wedding in like a half an hour and I still need to find my shoes and get my purse and everything, but that is why I'm dressed so fancy. I'm going to a wedding, but I also just barely finished The Perfect Nanny, so I figured I would do my update really quick before I gotta go. I do think I liked the first half a little bit more than the second half of this book, which sucks, but it was still a really quick read nonetheless. 220 something pages for a thriller is so nice, and this one didn't have a very satisfying ending. And I did see on Goodreads a lot of people just saying the same thing, where it's pretty open-ended and doesn't answer really any of the questions that are brought up throughout the story. So you're kind of just left out in the dust a little bit, but I do think I'm going to give it a 3-star. Happy that I read it and, you know, ticked it off on my TBR nonetheless, but I will put it back on the shelves. I did like the writing a lot at times and love the short chapters, so happy that it's read. And then let's pull the next book right now. I'm not gonna be able to start reading it right away because I got to leave, but I'm just dying of curiosity, so let me grab the TBR jar. Okay, I hauled a couple of books the other day. So I wrote down all of the new books on my TBR and I added the papers to this, but then it's kind of hard to mix since it's so full. It doesn't really mix around well, so I dumped all of them out, kind of mixed them around and put them back in. So some new books have been added that I hauled, but I also did a very good little mix around. There's one stuck in the lid here. What color? Purple. Okay, this is adult fantasy, which I read a lot last weekend. I'm in the adult fantasy mood, so not scared of this, but I am scared of this because I got some big adult fantasy on my shelves. What is it? The God of Endings. Interesting. Okay, let me grab that. Okay, so The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. I don't know a lot about this book, so let me read it really quick. Okay, this is giving me Age of Adeline a little bit because we're following the perspective of this woman who, because she has endured centuries of turmoil and heartache in the wake of her grandfather's long ago decision to make her immortal like himself. So she's immortal. And Colette is a lonely artist who heads an elite fine art school for children in upstate New York. So interesting, we're following an immortal woman. The reason I picked this up, I remember, is somebody says it was giving vampire vibes, and the end of this is she is mysteriously growing hunger for blood. So she's immortal, and now she wants blood. Giving vampire. Okay, I'm excited, a little nervous because this is a big book. Let's see how many pages. Ooh. We have 464. God damn. Okay, I'm also curious as to what the first line is. I love the first line of a book. Kind of gives you a feel. When I was a child, the dead were all around us. What is with the first line being about dead children? The very first line of The Perfect Nanny was the baby is dead. And now the first line, when I was a child, the dead were all around us. What the hell? But okay, I need to head out. Gotta go get my shoes on, go to this wedding. But happy that we've picked our next book. Happy that this one has been read. We will see. I'm gonna give this a chance. Hopefully I finish it and love it. But if not, she has to be unhauled. So time will tell. I'll talk to you later once I made a little bit of progress.
Are we taking selfies?
A video?
These are your wipes.
Oh, thank you.
Because we look gorgeous in the sun.
Regina. Wait, I need a selfie.
You could do.
I feel you, brother.
I could do like.
Hello. We just got home from the wedding. It was so beautiful. I just love the couple. Was so cute. The vows made me cry like they always do, and it was just a lot of fun. But I had to update that on the drive to the venue, I found the audiobook for The God of Endings at my library available to download. So I placed a hold. I got it for the next 21 days. Definitely won't take me that long to read it. But the audiobook is 17 hours long. Going to start in on this in the morning, but I need to take off my makeup, crawl into bed. Yes, I immediately got home and changed into my muumuu. Mind your business. Hello, next day, and I have made a little bit of progress in The God of Endings. I am up to page 126, which is chapter 15, and now I have a good kind of feel on the world. I can better explain the story. So we are following our main character, Colette. It is dual perspective. One of them, we are in 1830s when she is just a girl, and then also the 1980s where she's a woman who is immortal, has not aged in a very long time, and she's a school teacher to some preschool kids. So in the 1830 chapters, you see why she was turned into this immortal being. They aren't saying vampires, but she's immortal and she craves blood, so 2 and 2 together. But 1830s, it was around the time of like tuberculosis, so her whole family died other than her, and her grandpa came and got her and turned her immortal. But present day in the 1980s timeline, she is a school teacher, but she is very full of joy, and like she wants to teach preschoolers because they are at that age where they still have magic in their eyes and the world hasn't come real yet to them. And she makes her classroom very fun. She had such a rough upbringing, childhood. Even after she turned immortal, she was just taking care of people who became sick, and she would help them until they passed away. Just kind of a bed nurse, because she knew that she wasn't going to catch it, so she would just help people. And yeah, she's had a lot of death in her life, but like a classic vampire story, this is talking a lot about life and death and immortality, and some people might crave immortality, thinking that it would be so much fun to live forever, but this book has some pretty gorgeous writing and really explains like why that might not be the best thing. The very end of chapter 14 had this little quote that I'm going to read that I liked, that kind of like summed this up really well, but it is a parent-teacher conference vibe. All of the parents are at the school to celebrate this holiday. She's celebrating a holiday all about death that happens in the fall. I can't remember the name of it. Obviously, as an immortal being, she has a fascination with it, but she's looking at the parents and she says, "I envy these people terribly, it's true, but not for their children and families. I envy their brevity. I envy the low stakes of their choices. Whatever they lose, whatever they suffer, they don't suffer long. They get just a little life. Birth, some joy, some sorrow, then death to wash it all clean. Their race is a sprint, and so they are free to tear furiously out of the gate, to give it their all, hold nothing back for a few quick laps before collapsing in exhaustion and glory. But mine is an unending marathon. It's slow and steady for me. It's settle in, it's endure." So it kind of gives you an idea of what she is thinking about her immortal life. But I did bust out my fall bookmark. This is the first time I'm using it this year, and I'm looking through my bookmarks and I saw this and I was like, oh my god. So yes, very happy to be reading like an existential vampire story. It's giving me some good vibes. It actually made me rewatch New Moon earlier this morning. I was listening to my audiobook, but then I took a break and I was like, we should rewatch the Twilight Saga like I do every year, but I just skipped the first movie this time because it just makes me laugh and it's hilarious, but sometimes it needs to be skipped. So I just watched New Moon. Probably will watch Eclipse later, but yes, having a good time with The God of Endings. When I marked it as read on Goodreads, I saw that I hauled it back in January of this year, and since I've hauled it, I haven't made like concrete plans to read it, so I don't know when I would have picked this up. Happy that it's one that I pulled out of the TBR jar. And also in one of the timelines, it's set in France, and The Perfect Nanny was originally written in French. It was set in Paris and was translated, so kind of interesting. Both of the stories have France as a setting, and both of them have children about preschool age that are really prominent in the story, because since she's a teacher, it shows a lot of the kids, and Colette is very obsessed with artwork, and one of the kids is a very good artist, even from such a young age. He's just like a natural talent, and she and him have a very strong connection through art. So yeah, it's interesting. Both these stories kind of have that similarity. Also, they both talk a lot about death and like children and death, and yeah. Anyway, going to keep plugging away at this. I think I'm almost 30% of the way through, so I'm not even halfway yet. Now that I've read over 100 pages, I had a better grasp on the story. That's what I'm feeling about it so far. Having a good time. Love a vampire story to get me into the fall mood. I have quite a few updates. Not a lot on the book that I've been reading. I still am listening to The God of Endings, and yesterday I got up to page 170, so still not halfway, but still having a good time. Trigger warnings in this book for animal cruelty. Our main character is a good vampire in the sense where she has boundaries that she's not willing to cross. She doesn't feed on children, and she doesn't really like feeding on adult humans because you can't really trust an adult's blood to be pure. And then animals are pretty gamey, but that's what she's been surviving off of. But as she is getting older, her hunger is getting stronger and it's starting to consume her. It's feeling a little bit like a historical fiction novel, which is not my favorite genre, but it's just because of the dual timeline when we're jumping back to when she was first turned. So still listening to this, and I wanted to read on my couch last night, and I've been reading this for like over a month now, Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. I'm reading it as a buddy read, but I wasn't going to include it in this video. It was just something I was physically reading while, you know, not listening to the audiobook of this. And I'm annotating it, writing in it, highlighting a bunch. And I got up to page 302 last night, and I read to the end of the page and I go to the next one and it completely cut out 33 pages. So over here we got 302, over here 335. So freaking annoying because of how much time I put into annotating this book. I got over 300 pages into it and I'm missing 33 pages. So I bought this book when it came out, I believe like a year ago now. I bought it in person at Barnes & Noble. You can tell because it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So this happened at like 7:30 last night, and I am so crazy because I changed out of my muumuu and into some sweats, and I went to Barnes & Noble because it doesn't close until 9. So I was like, if they have it in stock, maybe they'll just give it to me. So I go to Barnes & Noble. The lady had no idea like what to do. They didn't even have the book in stock. And so she's like, we'll order it for you. And I was like, okay, well, can you order it like to my house so I don't have to come back here? And she was like, no, we can order it to the store and you can come pick it up, which is annoying because it's out of my way. But I was like, okay. And then she was like, okay, so are you just going to bring your edition to trade? And I was like, well, I've been like annotating it since I've started reading it. I have a defective copy, but I made it even more defective with my scribbles. And she was like, yeah, that's weird. And I was like, okay. Like, I had no intention of returning this book. I don't have the receipt, but like, you guys sold me a defective copy. And she was like, well, just come during the day and there'll be 2 managers here, and you know, 2 heads are better than 1. But they want me to give this copy back, but I've already like, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I just want to get an edition of the book where it has all the pages and then transfer my annotations over. But I can't do that like in a Barnes & Noble to like give them this copy back. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this whenever they get it in, they're going to text me. But my read of this has been put on hold, like without me wanting to, because I was honestly in a crazy scene and then the fucking pages are missing. So anyway, super annoyed. That's never happened to me. I own all these books. That has never happened to me. But of course it's happening when I'm reading a big ass sci-fi that I'm annotating. So this book is on hold. I will keep you updated on this Barnes & Noble saga. But the other update that I wanted to do this morning was I don't pay for Kindle Unlimited, but I did do like the free 3-month trial or whatever because I've had Kindle Unlimited before, but I didn't feel like I was getting my money's worth because I own so many physical books that I want to read through. I just wasn't even picking up like 1 Kindle a month, and if you're paying $10 for it or whatever, normally an ebook is like $4 if you just want to buy it on Kindle. So I didn't feel like I was getting my money's worth. I canceled my subscription, but that was like last year, and then this year they sent me an email about wanting to do a free 3-month trial, and I did it. I read a couple of Kindle Unlimited when I got access to it because there was a couple that were in there I was interested in, but I haven't really picked it up in the last couple of months. And when I canceled it so that it didn't charge me accidentally, I saw that my last day was 9/15, and I wrote a sticky note because I knew that if I didn't like have it on my desk or something to remind me, I would forget that I even have Kindle Unlimited until the 15th. So it is September 10th today. My subscription cancels in 5 days, and I have books in my library from Kindle Unlimited that I am interested in reading. Honestly, I don't know the plot of basically any of these books. The reason that I have them downloaded is because at one point or another, somebody in an Instagram reel or YouTube video or something mentioned this book, and sold it to me enough where I went and I saw if it was on Kindle Unlimited and I added it to my library. Clearly I wasn't excited enough to pick it up right away because it has been sat unread in here, but I do have 8 books in my little library that I have marked as want to read. So last night I made a mini TBR jar because why would I pull another book out of there when it's overflowing and I can't even fit any more books in there when I could just read a Kindle book instead? Yeah, so I wanted a 3rd book for this video. Decided it's going to be a Kindle book, and since I can't read this anymore, I gotta wait for my new book to come in. I'm just going to select the Kindle read right now, and then I can read it alongside The God of Endings while I'm listening to this. You know, if I'm getting bored with the historical setting and I'm wanting some romance, then I can pick up my Kindle book because all of these are romance. I don't know anything really about the plots, but I know that all of them are some kind of romance. Okay. Ooh, I love when there's not too many in there. It like makes it more intense, I feel. The Games Gods Play. Ooh, this was like the newest one. This was at the very top. Very like last one that I wanted to read. Okay, The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owens. Let's see what it's about really quick. Okay, looks like it is Greek mythology. The gods love to play with us mere mortals, and every 100 years we let them. I have never been favored by the gods, far from it, thanks to Zeus. Living as a cursed office clerk for the Order of the Thieves, I just keep my head down and hope the capricious beings who rule from Olympus won't notice me. Not an easy feat, given San Francisco is Zeus's patron city, but I make do. I survive. Until the night I tangle with a different god. The worst god, Hades. Okay, so that's probably why I was interested in this. The love interest is Hades. Literally the back of my Kindle, this sticker is from Lore Olympus, Persephone and Hades. I just love me a Hades story. Okay. For the first time ever, the ruthless, mercurial king of the underworld has entered the crucible, the deadly contest the gods hold to determine a new ruler to sit on the throne of Olympus. Oh, but instead of fighting their own battles, the gods name mortals to compete in their stead. So why in the underworld did Hades choose me, a sarcastic nobody with a curse on her shoulders, as his champion? There's this, when I opened up, it went right to this page, Olympus, Underworld. We're getting the pictures, love to see it. I'm gonna go back to the title page. The Games Gods Play. Okay, so now I got a fun Kindle read. This will make me happy that I am not getting to read Lightbringer right now. Super sad about that. But yeah, this video was like, no, you need to stop reading Lightbringer and focus on these books. I do think this is it was one of the bigger books in this TBR jar, but I'm going to feel accomplished reading one more book before my free trial ends. 24 hours later and we are back in the same spot. I have done some reading and I am officially 50% of the way through The God of Endings. Also, didn't realize both of these books had God in the title. Kind of weird. But yeah, The God of Endings, it's feeling kind of like a 3-star right now. It's a little bit the downfall of dual timelines is you're always going to have a favorite timeline, and I definitely prefer the present day one, or I guess it's not present day, but 1980s timeline, where she's a teacher and mysterious things are happening because she's losing control on her hunger, and she has the relationship with that boy Leo who's like a little artist, and they just went to an art museum. And when I'm in the 1800s timeline, she met this guy named Paul who I just don't really care about their like relationship. He has a wife who he's no longer with. She found another man, got married, and now has a kid. And he's Jewish, which is not a very popular religion at that time, so he's dealing with like that adversity. I feel like I'm only really enjoying half of the book. I'm gonna keep listening. Hopefully it gets better, but I got like 8 something hours left of the audiobook. And then yesterday I started The Games Gods Play. I got up to chapter 32, but these chapters are tiny, so that is really only 183 out of 634. So I'm 29% of the way through, and this was definitely one of the bigger books that I had to pull out of the jar. 634 pages is kind of a lot for 5 days, I guess. 100 something pages I need to read a day, and yesterday I read 183. I tried to get a little bit farther than I needed to because I know today I'm not going to have a lot of reading time. I'm going to the state fair after work with a couple of coworkers because we got free tickets at work. So I have the Kindle app on my phone. I'm going to try to read a little bit at work when I can today. But anyway, so we have our main character. She has had a curse put on her from Zeus from the day that she was born. Her family went to Zeus's temple to ask for like a safe birth and like a good life for the kid, and her mom's water broke on his like marble temple floor, and apparently hurting Zeus's castle is like the #1 thing to do to piss him off. So he cursed the baby for her entire life that nobody will ever love her. So she just kind of has that curse, and she's found out through like living, obviously, that it's not that nobody will love her, it's just that nobody will like choose her. So she'll have like crushes on guys and stuff, and she can see that they're like interested, but they always kind of eventually ignore her and forget about her and just never choose her. So yeah, kind of a very sad existence. She's never had somebody like choose her and love her and want to be with her and all of that. So she has that curse, and then she kind of meets Hades by chance the day before the games start because she's pissed off. She wants to go to Zeus to break the curse, and so she's like, I know the #1 way to piss him off would be to destroy his temple. So she goes to his temple and is about to start like throwing rocks at the wall just to get Zeus's attention, and she bumps into Hades, and he likes that she like isn't really scared of the gods, kind of because she has nothing to lose, and it wasn't anything that she did. Like, she just wants this curse taken off her, and she'll like do whatever she can at this point to do that. So yeah, she meets Hades. They have a chance encounter, and normally in a Hades like story where he's the love interest, the main character is Persephone, or Core is her other name. But in this book, Persephone has recently passed away, so Hades is kind of grieving his queen, and like the big grand love of his life just died. And so we're 30% in, not a lot of romance is happening, a lot of just like the games. And the games are interesting. It's, you know, it always kind of gives like Hunger Games vibes. She's trying to like suss out the other contenders, see who is allies, who's competition. It's not like Hunger Games where they have to kill everybody and there's one winner. But if by chance during these labors, that's what they call them, people die, that's within the rules. And if everyone dies and you're the only one standing, you win these labors by default. But there's 12 labors total. We've only done one, and it was crazy. There was like an army made out of bones. But her and Hades are a vibe. When they're having their moments and their conversations, it's pretty witty. They give each other shit, and he likes, obviously, that normally everyone treats him like the god of the underworld and is terrified of him, but here's this girl and she's just like, I don't care, I don't have anything left to lose. And he's promised her that if she wins these labors and like becomes the champion, then he will remove her curse. He has like the power to do that. So now she's not trying to go through Zeus, get it removed that way. You know, she just wants to win these games. Hades will be in the seat of power, and then she will get her curse removed. But, you know, because it's a romance, I feel like the curse is going to be removed because he fell in love with her. I don't know. We will see. 24 hours later, once again, I'm just getting in the habit of doing a little update in the morning before going to work. But I made it 10% more of the way through The God of Endings. I got up to 60%, and I think I'm gonna DNF this book and unhaul it because I'm not really having that great of a time, unfortunately, and I don't want to get into spoiler territories in case anyone is interested in reading this book. But now we are in World War II, German soldiers have invaded, and I want the main character to be a badass and like protect her students and everything. I don't know. I'm not tuning out the audiobook when I'm listening to it, but I'm not excited to like put on my headphones and listen to the story because I want to know what happens, you know? Like, I'm fine putting this down, never thinking about it again, and just never knowing what happens at the end. So it's a big sign to just stop reading. And second episode into the series, we are unhauling our first book. But I'm gonna throw this dust jacket back on, take my bookmark out. But yeah, I got up to page 280, which is chapter 30, and 280 pages. I feel like I gave it a decent shot. I know if I push through and finish it, I would probably give it a 2, at best a 3-star, and I don't need to push through a book I know that's going to be a 3. I'm just not up to that task right now. I thought some of the writing was good. There was a couple of quotes that I liked, just didn't keep me interested enough to want to continue, but gonna put this in my closet in my unhaul pile. And then on my Kindle read last night, page 269, so 42% of the way through this book. Not a lot of romance has happened yet. Just one kiss between our main characters, and 40% of the way through a romance book, that is like nothing. So a lot of the story that's been happening so far has been about the games and these labors that she's doing. And again, it's just reminding me of Hunger Games because she picks an ally who's like the weakest ally, which Katniss would do. And Hades gets all peeved, but because she picked that ally, she was safe in the next labor. There's different powers or gifts that you're allowed to give your champion when they're fighting. And Hades gave her some of his power. So she's navigating that like new magic. Yeah, having a really good time. Almost halfway through that one, and it's only been 2 days. And that was with me going to the fair yesterday, which had a good time at the fair. Was only there for some hours, but I did get this really pretty rose quartz heart ring. It's like sterling silver. I think it is gorge. So got a new ring. Unfortunately, the food that I got there was terrible and so expensive. Ugh, hated that. But I did have a couple extra tickets. So when we were walking out, I saw this group of girlies and gave them my tickets. They were so happy. So ended on a high note, got a cute ring, DNFing and unhauling the God of Endings. I still have 3 more days to get through the next 60% of that book. It's almost the weekend. I am so excited. I've got to head into work right now, but I'll update you hopefully when I am almost done with this book. I am going to preface this with I am in a bad mood and I'm pissed off. Fuck you, Barnes & Noble. I'm sure you can guess that I just had to go buy another copy of a book that I already fucking own, because they refused to give me a refund on this one because I have annotated it. And you know what? This was my fucking book and it's not my fault that you sold me a defective copy. Yeah, super fucking mad. I have now spent $55 for one book. Not a special edition, no sprayed edges, just a regular hardcover. And I also didn't even get to get a exclusive edition, which I'm not even mad about. Like, I genuinely don't care that it's not an exclusive edition. I'm just pissed that I've had to buy it twice. Yeah. I was nice to the cashier lady because she can't make any decisions. Like, she was like, this sucks. And she said, I'm sorry, like 5 times. But I didn't want to be like, it's okay. But I also didn't want to be like, fuck you. So I was just really silent to her. Like, I'm pissed, so I'm not going to be nice to you right now, but I know it's not your fault. But the manager lady, she was like, well, we can give you a 20% off. Is that okay? And I was like, not really, because I've already spent $30. Like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed. I'm only gonna buy off of Amazon now, and I know Jeff Bezos owns like 1/3 of the world, and I should support other bookstores, but fuck you. But seriously, fuck you, because I had to buy this twice. Still love Pierce Brown, still love this series, but Barnes & Noble's policy on that needs to be updated. I know it's not even really Barnes & Noble's fault because they don't make the book. That's Del Rey Publishing, who clearly just like didn't do a good audit on if this book had the right amount of pages. But Barnes & Noble's policy, like, you guys are the ones who sold me this book. You gave me 20% off. That's fucking nothing. Like, if you go to a restaurant and your order's wrong, or there's hair in your food, or you're missing part of your meal, then you get a free meal coupon or you get reimbursed. At Barnes & Noble, they're just like, well, our bad. Do you want to buy another thing off of the menu? Anyway, I'm ranting because I'm pissed off, so I just need to chill and change my attitude. I'm gonna put on a good show start transferring my annotations. My reward for this whole ordeal today is I will get to sit down with Lightbringer and keep reading the story, which I'm excited about. A lot more excited than I am about the game's God's Play. I keep fucking up that title, but the book is kind of getting boring, y'all. Okay, so there's these 12 labors. I kind of hate that they're called labors though. So 12 challenges that you have to complete. The gods pick their champion to do these challenges, and they're fighting like on their behalf, and whoever's challenge win, that god gets to be the god of gods. Okay, cool concept, whatever. And if you have a champion in the game, you also get to create one of the challenges. So it's a little bit cool because it's like you don't know whose challenge you're going into when you go into it. And then like there was one that was from Hermes, which is the god that has like the wings on his feet and is like the messenger. And his was you're like on a platform and you have to answer a riddle, and the person who answers the riddle the quickest gets his shoes and gets to like fly off the cliff, and everybody else had to like climb down and not die and like make it safely. And so you get to see the gods and like it's fun with that, but there's 12 challenges. 12. And we are doing every single one. Like normally when you find out there's X amount at the beginning of a book, something happens to where like that is not really the case and like the plot moves in a different direction or whatever. But this is so repetitive, and it's easy to read because the chapters are short. Like the chapters are 5 or 6 pages, so you're just flying through it, and it's very fast paced because these challenges are like life or death or whatever. But I am so bored of the same thing happening over and over and over and over and over again. So I don't know. I might DNF this one as well, which will be 2 out of 3 books in this video being DNF'd. But you know what? I'm in a bad mood. If I just want to read more of Lightbringer, that is what I'm going to do. And yeah, hate this for me. Hate that I really had to deal with this whole situation. Don't love being angry, especially at people who are just trying to do their job. I just don't feel like the situation was resolved in a good way. Like, at least at all the places I've worked, it's always like customer first, like just take care of them. But they were just like, well, heavens to Betsy, you're missing some pages. Oh, Lord. And then they made me buy another one. Anyway, the only redeeming thing is that it is Friday afternoon. It's not even 2 o'clock yet, and I am already home. And at least I do have the new copy, so I will get to continue this book.
Have obviously gotten up. I needed to wash my sheets, so I stripped my bed, made my
Couple days later, welcome to the end of this video. It is September 16th, so my Kindle Unlimited free trial period has officially expired, and I didn't finish the game's God's Play. The story was just kind of getting progressively worse, more repetitive, and the writing was getting simpler and simpler, and yeah, I just wasn't having the best time. So no more access to KU, which I think is going to help me read my physical TBR, so not mad at that at all, and happy that I tried that book before I lost my free trial, because I was looking at the hardback on Amazon and it had beautiful sprayed edges, and I was like, ooh, that book sounds interesting, and I probably would have bought it if I hadn't tried to read it first, because now I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in buying that book at all. So, and then the other 2 books of this video, I gave 3 stars to The Perfect Nanny. I own this for years and very happy I picked it up. I'm going to keep it on my shelves. It is one that I feel like I might unhaul later in life, just because I already know the twist, but I do like some of the conversations this has. And then Unhauling the God of Endings, I just had to grab this out of my closet. I hope somebody picks this up and loves it, and happy that it didn't collect dust on my shelf for years and years. It took way longer than I expected, but I did transfer all my annotations into Lightbringer, and I was able to continue reading it. I'm on page 315, and I am having the best time. So excited to jump back into this world. I think I'm probably going to finish this book before I start anything else. Fingers crossed that no like audiobook holds or anything come in, because I just want to focus on this world. But I have never-ending books to continue reading, so there will be another episode of this very, very soon. But even though I didn't finish 2 of the 3 books in this video, still happy with all of the progress that I made. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. All my socials are linked down below like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!